a poison in a pocket to a mannequin. She always leaves me breathless and panicking. There's nothing I can do but stay out of sight. With every touch, she makes my stomach feel uneasy. She says my name and my thoughts get crazy. There's nothing I want more than this tonight. Lips the color of poison dot frog. Eyes the blue of my deepest fantasies. Shut screaming, get us away. She's like antifreeze. She's got this voice that moves down from the hill, and it descends to 95 and kills. But you know I die for a word from those lips. There is no alignment for other agendas, and we always decide that someone can defend us. But it all fades away when she wiggles those hips. Lips the color of poison dot frog. Eyes the blue of my deepest fantasies. Strike from it, stealing away.
Okay, I think I'm live, and I think there's some weirdness happening. Let me make sure my microphone's making noise. Okay, microphone is working. I was dicking around with things today, and I have a feeling like I'm still learning all this OBS shit. Yeah, so I have a second. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. This is the one that I want to play now, and it should have me doing stuff. It says this should be live. Oh, wait. No, I don't know. Things are going weird here. Hang on a second. Hanging out. Yammering. There's something about how I've got this all tied together. There we go. That's an old one. Just one fucking... Can I go to me? Hang on a second. I'm gonna... Oh, this is going smooth. Okay. Let's try this again. Let's go to Big Ugly Jim. I think I hit start. And ooh, there I am. Okay, so now I can send this to my fucking TV so I can see things. All right. And this is the link that will work apparently. I think. All right. And if I click on this, it should tell me that everything is good. Oh, for fuck's sake, my TV has volume. Wait, I can control that from my phone. There we go. All right. Yeah. All right, so I am streaming. I've got my restream open. Hi, folks. In theory, life is all right. In theory. It's been a strange day for me playing with OBS. I did this whole thing where oh look, Restream's going to double me up because I have a different, whatever, doesn't matter. Yeah, no, it was a weird day. I had this idea yesterday about live streaming my recording baseline. So Bodies of Everest is one of the 3 bands that I'm in. I love them. And they are awesome. And, oh, there's a thing, that's there. It says I have 0 people watching the stream, but Restream tells me, the chat tells me I have 4. I don't know shit about shit. Anyways, Bodies of Everest is a band I'm in, a band I very much love being in, and we're doing, because of the whole COVID situation, we've been doing our recordings remote, or we've been jamming remotely through recording stuff and sending it back and forth with Google Drives, and we get together once a week via Google Hangout and talk about what we're doing. I had been, because I'm not someone who has ever done a lot of like home recording stuff. I got or I had no the fuck am I trying to say? I had no like home recording gear, so I literally was just like my laptop with the microphone, the default Windows microphone. Not the best way to go about it. Sorry, I'm just dealing with the fact that... Okay, that should be happening. Oh no, I want Restream chat on and new chat box off. I think that's what I'm doing. Testing the chat. Feel free to say stuff. And if I look in Google, is it showing that coming in? I'm just learning all this shit, so you'll have to forgive me. Yeah, it looks like it showed up. I keep thinking I want to edit the stream when I just want to look at it. Maybe if I go about things better. Sorry, I'm a little disorganized right now. It's been a cool morning. No, I want to be able to go in here. It says I have one live viewer, which is me. I don't know. Fuck the world. In theory, if anyone's on watching, please just say something in the chat so I know if it's happening. And we'll see. I don't know. Anyways, so we've been recording stuff and sending it back and forth as a means of writing music, and that has been super fun. We're now at a place where we could actually do more with that. So we're wanting to properly record. So in preparation, Dave's got nothing to say. Okay, well, at least I'm glad to know that things are working. So in preparation for that, I went out and bought myself a nice microphone for the podcasting and a digital interface, a Focusrite, what is it? Scarlett 2i2. It's very pretty. It's red. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. But so I've used that a little bit, and it's been good. And then I had the idea yesterday Thursday we were talking about the next step for the songs, and what we did for our challenge this week is to look at the songs that we're doing and try to, the ones that we've kind of got the basics down, and we've got a structure, now it's time to really listen to the track and listen to our part and figure out is there more that we could be doing here, which is super cool. And when I say that, what I mean is things like, shit, I don't need these in anyways. What am I doing? Things like when we are, what the fuck? I'm seriously, I keep doing 8 things at once and then getting my head sidetracked. All right. When we're looking at the songs, what we're looking at is are we satisfied with the way that our parts are working? Is there more we could do? Also, recording a really tight version of that. So this Focusrite thing is my plug-in directly to my computer, and it allows me to have that direct, there's no microphone involved. It's just straight in, and it's great. And I very much love the product. It's super cool. No, they're not paying me to say that. I just like it. That's an interesting thing. What am I seeing here? I can't see shit. I feel like... Hang on a second. I'm going to try something really quick. I feel like my chat isn't really working properly. So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to click on Restream Chat, edit the settings, paste that, and it'll come back with, oh, the chat is ready, and I'll go, the El Chato es radio. No, that's probably, I'm trying to pretend like I know Spanish, but at the same time, that probably could be construed as me being rude. I'm not trying to be, so chat thing, whatever. I just want to see that it pops up on. Yeah, it popped up. Okay, so in theory, I don't know, maybe my chat's working, maybe it's not. We'll find out together. Yeah, so anyways, back to what I was talking about. So I had this idea that it might be interesting to people if I live streamed that, and if I was like, oh, why is it not it's not connected to Twitch apparently. I don't know. Fuck whatever. UC chat thing. I don't think it's working with Twitch. I'm not terribly. It looks like sometimes it's working with Twitch and sometimes it's not. I don't know. Whatever. Fucking technology. Anyways, so is there a thing I need to do? I'm just stupidly trying to figure all this shit out on the fly. Let me just go to my Restream dashboard, see if there's anything glaring that's like, this is why shit's not working. It says my Twitch is online. Okay, well, I'm just going to go with it. Okay. And close that down because I don't need it open, and it's just going to use resources that I don't want to use. Meh. All right, so I had the idea, getting around to the point, I had the idea that I could live stream it and that I could show people the process that I go through of making the songs and listening and recording and all that stuff. I am by no means awesome at this. I am not like an expert musician. I've played music for a long time, but I have never been an amazing bass player or an amazing trumpet player, but I hold my own, I think. And I'm good with that. This is just, it's a good thing. If I ever thought about releasing these chats on cassette tape, not just yet. I have not considered that, but cassette tape, really? Like, I get that I'm old and I hated cassettes, but I guess that they're big now, but no, I hadn't, but maybe I should. Maybe I should get my cassette people working on it. Anyways, see, does that? I have no idea if it's showing up on the live feed or not. Well, time will tell. Time will tell. We'll figure shit out. Anyways, so I had this idea. I thought it'd be interesting, potentially for some people to just watch and see how I do, and you know, it might be a way for me to get critiqued and know how to do better and things like that. But I knew that that would not be an easy process. So I did some digging, and the way that it works is like this. So my little Focusrite box, which is pretty as all hell, it takes it has an input where I plug my bass directly in, and that input basically, allows me to, with my DAW, digital audio workstation or whatever. The program is called Reaper, and I can plug in through my little Scarlet boxy thing, and it goes directly into the computer, and Reaper picks it up and goes, oh, okay, cool. And I can actually put in headphones, and I'm playing along, and in the headphones is the mix from Reaper. It's really awesome. Now, the trick is, those are two different things. The audio coming into my ears is not the same as the audio going out to Reaper. So essentially think of it like two different paths of noise, and one is coming out and one is going in. The one going in only has my bass, the one coming out only has the other stuff. And Reaper is designed to say, I'm going to shoot only the things that matter into your ear, and that's the only place that sound is going. I figured out eventually you can use what's called RIA route to send the information to my earphones, but also send it to OBS. And then I can create another ASIO input for that, and OBS will pick it up. And then I have an audio input from my Focusrite into this. So eventually, I made a video today. It was like a 2-second, just terrible version of me playing one of our songs, but it worked. And I'm super excited about that. So yeah, life has been good and interesting and wacky. And that was it was a real, it's like the dumbest sense of accomplishment ever. But a real sense of accomplishment nonetheless. I was like very stoked on the fact that I could do that, because I'm not an awesome, super expert streamer dude, and I don't know half the things I'm doing. But I don't know. It works for me. I wish I could see this bigger. I think. Yeah, Dave's. Yeah, Dave's. Okay, so it is coming in eventually on the live stream chat, and I'm happy about that. So yeah, how's everyone doing? Like I said, I've had an interesting week. I wound up getting my vaccine, the first dose of my AstraZeneca. So that was cool. In terms of grotesque side effects, I really only had a little bit of discomfort in my shoulder. It's still there a bit. It just feels kind of like I pulled the muscle in one of my rotator cuff muscles. It's like not stopping me. I can do things, and it's a non thing. So I'm pretty stoked that I didn't get a stroke or develop an extra head or anything like that. But ultimately, like I didn't expect to have any of those things happen. So it's good. Thing I've always found about studio stuff is that once you get into the weeds of the actual program, solving things yourself sets yourself up for solving other inevitable issues. Probably true. In this case, part of my reasoning behind doing this and pursuing it when it was obvious that it wasn't going to be easy, part of that was I wanted to be able to do this, and I wanted to make sure that I understood what was happening behind the scenes, so that I could recreate it. One of the like the audio software is fickle. I wouldn't say it's as fickle as video software, but audio is definitely fickle. And when I got the little Focusrite thing, it was a fairly easy installation, but not all the way easy. And there was a bunch of troubleshooting I had to do. ASIO is the protocol that has been written by the guys that wrote Cubase to communicate from an application directly to the sound card, rather than going through the Windows sound control thing, which is a pain in. Is Twitch a thing today? I think it is. It should be. I should be in. I'm just gonna reply. I think so, but I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Please ignore that. It works. Okay, cool. Just gonna say cool. Hi. Undergarments. Okay. Where was I? Yeah. So ASIO was created to directly speak to this. I only know this because today I had to dig through all of this to understand it, and essentially, OBS doesn't inherently speak to the sound protocol or listen for the sound protocol, so it's a thing. Good day, Mr. I am Canadian slash bright sparkling undergarments. Good to see you. So yeah. Anyways, long story short, I was able to make an OBS video featuring music that was on my Reaper, my live bass, zero latency, and that just is super cool. So I will be live streaming probably in a different playlist on the YouTubes, but I will be live streaming as I record various things, just because I think it's fun and a cool thing, and we're all bored as shit right now, so the more things we have to do, the less likely we are to go, oh, fuck it, I'm going to a bar and getting drunk and then getting COVID and spreading it to 800 people, 13 of whom die. Seems like a win to not have dead people. So yeah, like I said, got my first AstraZeneca shot. That was Thursday morning. Did not have any serious ramifications from that. I'm stoked to eventually get the second shot and finally feel like confident that I can go out into the world again. I do obviously go out into the world, like, I buy groceries and stuff, but especially right now, like, shit's getting crazy. Calgary, according to Nenshi, someone was telling me that Calgary's numbers are worse than India's per capita. And India is having a hell of a time right now. That's obviously an imperfect comparison, but it says a lot. I'm a big fan of not getting an unnecessary illness that will affect my life. People keep complaining about, like, oh, it's just like the flu. You know what? I get the flu shot. And you know why I get the flu shot? It's not because I'm scared of the flu. It's because, A, the flu has things that cause bad things to happen. Um, but more importantly, like I don't want to lose out on work. I don't want to lose out on like a week of or 3 days or whatever of life. If I can take a quick shot in the arm that makes that not happen, fuck yeah. What do we see? We got here. Nancy tweeted, India is approximately 200 per 100, 200 cases per 100,000 people, and Calgary is approximately 500 per 100,000. Yeah, that's fucking ridiculous. Dave, last year I grew plants because that was easy. This summer I'm all about recording music. Yes, Dave is, you're doing your first studio recording for others. Dave's done recording on his own in the past, but he's kind of like, much like me in this year, slowly building up all of the OBS bits and pieces. Dave's been focused on music, and we actually had a walk the other day, and we were talking about it. And he's just about to start recording a band, some friends of ours, and I think it's just cool. So I wonder, Dave, how the first little bit of recording went. I think it's already started. India has headlines, but Alberta is 2.5 times worse right now. I think the difference between India and Calgary, in this regard, obviously there's a couple of differences, but I think the sheer volume of people that are sick in India is problematic, and the strain that it's putting on their healthcare system and I'm by no means up on the whole topic, but I understand like shit's real bad there. It would be real bad here if we had similar infrastructure. I think that's part of one of the things that sucks about any of these things is we see a lot of stuff coming and we work ahead and we try to get ahead of it and we do things like the shutdowns and things like that are intended to save our healthcare system from collapsing. And when the healthcare system doesn't collapse, idiots are like, the healthcare system's fine. Why do we even need to do these things? You fucking moron. It's like Y2K, and everyone's like, that was a waste. Nothing happened. Yeah, nothing happened because we did the fucking work ahead of time to make sure nothing happened. Y2K wasn't going to be like I had a conversation with one of my students at the time. I was teaching college, it was a former student who I was working with, and we were talking about Y2K, and they were really upset. They were like, "Oh my god, like it's gonna be dangerous," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Russia, like all those nuclear silos are all run on old computers. They're not getting updated, and like they're gonna have the wrong dates, and that's gonna affect the math." And I was like, do you think there's code in a Russian nuclear silo that says if random number equals 47, launch a strike at the US? I don't think it's randomized like that. I don't think it's based on actual, timing like that. I think it's pretty much push button, launch, boom, boom. And, but there were things like one of the best examples that I read about was if you think about time locks. And let's say you've got a safe that only opens, automatically every day at 10 a.m. Monday through Friday in a bank. And January 1st isn't Monday to Friday, right? It's a Saturday, let's say. I don't remember the particulars, but let's just say. And that vault suddenly opens up because the math is wrong, because the calculation says, oh, today is because it's 010100. Obviously, we should open the bank vault. Obviously the banks would be closed. They'd have systems in place, but yeah, that comrade is random. So до свидания. One of the few accents I can still do without feeling like I'm being a jerk. Poor Russia. Yeah. So it just it strikes me, and then people complain about how we spent all this money on Y2K and nothing happened. Yeah, we spent all this money on Y2K so that nothing would happen, and nothing happened. Fuck yeah. You apologize for that one. Oh, you don't have to apologize. That's all right. Anyways, the world is a fun place, and people are kind of dumb. So that's I have a great deal of concern when it comes to wonder if I'm getting all the things. I see YouTube. I don't know. Yeah, I'm getting all the things. Okay, cool. So yeah, happy Saturday. Now that I'm partially vaccinated, I feel good. Um, and got coffee. I got a beer waiting in case I want a beer. I'm wearing a Sedition Choir T-shirt. Sedition Choir. I wanted to actually mention. Sedition Choir was a Calgary band a long time ago. They were fantastic. I love them to pieces. I might, when I go for a smoke, I might play a Sedition Choir song for y'all. Um, and my buddy Pat was the singer and guitar player for the Sedition Choir. And I have to say I wasn't quite sure about your last posting, but I learned a shit ton about Polly. Thank you, brother Jim. Hey, happy to be able to share stuff. I figure Polly is one of those topics that people really don't get and really don't understand because I didn't get it and didn't understand when I first sort of encountered it in the real world. Um, and so I feel like as a poly person, it's probably worth sometimes saying, "Hey, guess what? I'm poly." Duchess Nukem YYC is now following. Thank you, Duchess Nukem. I believe that is the legendary Nancy Barnes. So now that Nancy's following, she will fucking stab you if you step out of line. She's a danger. Um, yeah. I forget where I was going, but it's a gorgeous fucking day. Um, oh yeah, I was talking about Sedition Choir because of my T-shirt. So Pat was the singer. He moved away to some town in BC with sex in the title. I should know it because, my friend lives there and I care about him and I love him very much. He's just a really great person. But all I remember is it has sex in the title because apparently I'm 6 years old. Anyways, Pat lives in Sexville or Sexington or Sexistan. I don't know, some fucking place. Um, and he has a new band called the Grinning Barretts. Now, maybe I'll send a link inside the chat to the song that I did with them. One sec. It's actually in my Grinning Barretts. Oh, that's not right. There's a Grinning Barrett variation in, I think, Mortal Kombat. Um, you know what? There's another way I can find this real easy. You just click on My Videos and wait for YouTube to get its shit together and then go to, it's not My Videos, is it? I go to my channel. I'm doing things. Look at me. Let's see now. Show more. Narcissistic links. I have a playlist called Narcissistic Links, and there is right at the top. I'm just going to copy the link address and paste it into chat. This is a song that I did a bit of, as did my brother Mark Russell. So the Grin Barretts actually just announced they have a new song available for download. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet. I'm sure it's fantastic. But yeah, so you should check them out. They're completely badass. Let's see. I have a person in my life who now identify openly as an asexual, intersectional feminist. Never before have I felt more wasp, cisgender, and old. I get it. I absolutely get it. I very much felt for most of my life like I was like super hip and cool and knew all the things. And then very swiftly realized that I don't know shit about shit. Like when cisgendered as a word, for example, when it first started being used by people more, I had the reaction of like, why are you, what is the backstory of this word that I need to be defined by this? And then I realized, as I dug into it, and there was no malice involved. It was just like a word to describe people who are present as the gender they or identify as the gender they were born with. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, then that's all right. But there was that like, I don't understand things, and yeah, the more, the older I get, the more I find out about stuff that I didn't know about in the wild world. Asexuality, like I knew there were people who were asexual. I've dated them. Hi-oh, just kidding. That was not funny. But the number of people who genuinely, like, asexuality is not, ooh, I don't like sex. It's a whole different monster, and it's actually quite cool and fascinating. And I like that people have a word for it. I like that people have the ability to sort of, live their life and express themselves as they do. I have a question for chatting folks. I have this font that I don't really think I like that font. It looks kind of hard to read. Maybe it's just me, but it looks really shitty video gamey. What do you guys think? Because I can change it. I can change anything. You know what? I'm going to take a second. I'm going to see if I can change it, and doing so live. Because why not? Go to appearance. And that's not what I want. And maybe what I want. It seems like maybe it's what I want. No, it's not what I want. Embed in stream. There we go. Okay, so if I change that, actually, I'm just going to copy this one and use it because it seems to be, I think, clearer, easier to read. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to paste this. And we'll see if I fucked everything up. Because I may have. It didn't update. Refresh cache. We'll see if that, yeah, maybe I fucked everything up. We'll find out. I just think that it was harder to read. I can't read it on this because of the fact that I need like multiple laptops or multiple. I have multiple monitors and a proper workstation to do this properly. But for the time being, you go with what you got, and what I got is a laptop that is definitely. I guarantee you, if I look, it's pinned right now. Let's see, Task Manager. Task Manager says my CPU's 100%. Yep. So adding things and doing cool stuff right now is just, financially not a thing. But eventually I'll have money and I'll buy a new piece of hardware. But I think that chat is a little easier to read when I look at it on my TV. It seems like it. So hopefully. Chat seems to receive my text-based bounty. Yes, your text-based bounty is received in abundance, my friend. Good. I'm glad it's easy to read. So yeah, I've been doing a bunch of the last few days trying to figure that whole thing out with my computer, and I did. I see Sugar Shameless. Hi, Sugar. How are you? And so when I say that, I think Sugar's asking on what platform the chat is looking cruddy, and it's literally on the stream. I think it's much easier to read now. It was just me being pedantic over, but I want it to be pretty. Anyways, Green Barretts have a new song you should check out. I have not checked it out yet because I just found out about it, but they're awesome. And like I said, I included the link to their video that has me sort of megaphone yelling at the world because that is what I do. And my brother Mark Russell screaming for a verse, and it's a pretty fun song. I'm a big fan of it, so you should check it out. And a reminder that next week, the same bat time, the same bat channel, probably with the same bat stupidity in the beginning as I'm clicking scheduling streams, and then the streams don't do the thing that I thought they were going to do, and I don't know what the fuck is going on with that. But next week I will be using, I have the tip function working. We validated that last week that I was able to get a couple of tips, which was fantastic. Thank you very much. But that function is working, and so next week I'm going to be relying heavily on that. as I live stream and I fundraise for the fantastic folks at Bear Clan Patrol YYC. So every penny that I make from that stream, I will be donating directly to them, which is really just my way of saying I want to make people aware of them and I want them to get lots of attention and love and money, and I will just forward it along to them. It's not I'm not looking for anything out of it. It's just these people are awesome. They deserve our attention, our love, and support, and so this is how I can help. Sugar clued in eventually. Excellent. Wow. I also clued in eventually. I'm not the swiftest of the swift, so I've definitely. I'm giggling because it's a day where I've accomplished so much with this whole OBS thing, and then when I started this, immediately felt like I stepped back a million years because I scheduled the live feed on all of the different services and I was like everything's good. I hit the go live button and it started like new rather than the scheduled thing. So I don't fucking know what's happening. I don't know if I'm live on Facebook. It's I'm learning. It's fun. So like this picture behind me, this my I guess I can lean this way. My friend Kiri painted that, and it was she wanted some help with a website, and she gave me the painting in return. Which, for the record, I got the better end of that deal because that's a great painting. So it's always kind of behind when I do these streams, and that's pretty fun. So what's been going on, everyone? What's the haps? I I have been doing well. Um, just aside from a little bit of shoulder pain from the vaccine, I've been good. Um, I got what else is new this week for me? Um, oh, I got my eyes tested. I haven't tested my eyes in a long time. The last time I tested my eyes was shortly after I graduated college. When I was in college still, I got pepper sprayed with homemade pepper spray, and I was noticing that I thought my eyes were not perfect, so I was like, maybe there was some damage. I went and got checked, and at the time, the guy sold me a prescription for reading glasses that I absolutely did not need, but I was so freaked out, and he was a dink and took advantage of me, and fuck that guy. Um, but this, the last little while, I noticed particularly the last couple of times I was doing live streams, when I had a script open and I'm reading the script like Mr. Magoo, like, oh, I see the words there. So I was worried about that, and I figured I'd make an appointment and check. I haven't had an eye doctor appointment in forever, so I did it, and that fucking air thing is so unnerving when they put your face in and then your eyes are open and they're in your eye. Yeah, like I don't know what my thing, like I'm tough and I can get punched in the face and I can do all sorts of stuff, but like little burst of air in my eye and it's like so that was tough. But in the end, what I got was he gave me a prescription, but he said you probably won't need these, especially because I'm not a driver. He's like they're really your vision up close is fine. Your vision at a distance is not perfect, but like not bad. You won't notice it. If you want to get these glasses, you can. It will certainly help, but it's not a thing that you need to worry about. I don't have any signs of glaucoma. I don't have any signs of any macular degeneration, which in my case is a huge relief because my mom went through that. Um, let's see. Did the AstraZeneca as well. Sore arm for 3 days and slight fever, just enough to be cranky before sleeping the sleep of the dead. I don't know if I slept a bunch the last couple days, but I think it's like a bunch for me is like almost as much as a normal person. I usually get about like 4 or 5 hours a night, and sometimes I will have a nap during the day, and I had a nap and I managed to like stay asleep for like a whole like I think 6 hours. So I don't know if that qualifies, if that was the thing, or if it was just because I happened to be needing a little bit extra sleep or whatever. But Cranky, not so much. I just was cranky. So when I was doing this setup to try and make the bass music happen with OBS, um, yes, definitely get your eyes checked, sugar. Not that oh, you gotta get your eyes checked, but it's worth, even if it's like, oh hey, everything's cool. It was a relief to know that everything's cool because I felt like things were getting worse and they weren't. And knowing that means that it's okay, I'm good. Um, did they schedule my second AstraZeneca dose? No, they said 4 months, but I was kind of expecting that there'd be a schedule, but there was not. So that was weird. I guess I will schedule that as we get closer, but I'm not sure. But I know what date I went in, so I can sort of do the math. Yeah, I didn't get a follow up appointment or anything, which I thought was kind of weird, but I guess it makes sense because they don't know if they're gonna have like the big clinics or not. Anyway, so I was doing the thing where I didn't live stream it because I still wasn't 100% sure it was going to be okay, but I hit record and I sort of quickly talked through all the different bits and pieces of how the bass was set up through the computer and with OBS and everything. And my youngest son, who does not understand when daddy's doing things, sometimes you have to be polite and wait a second. And he does this thing where he goes like, oh, dad. And I stopped what I was doing because I wasn't live. It didn't matter. But I was totally snarky. And I was like, what do you want? And he's like, well, I'm just about to go out. I'd like to steal 4 cigarettes off of you. Which is what happens because I give him cigarettes because I'm a fucking soft touch. My dad never gave me cigarettes. Like, my dad would have given me a no teeth if I asked him for a cigarette. Not that he smoked, but... And I was like, dude, like... And I'm super snarky about it because I'm already, like, I've been struggling with this all day, and I'm like, ugh. And I was like, dude, you could wait 2 minutes. It wouldn't be a thing. So I give him his cigarettes, and he proceeds to be around the house for like another 45 minutes after, and literally my recording was 5 minutes long, and it was done. I was just like, you prick. Anyways, that's me being a bad dad. I was definitely cranky, but I don't think that was from the AZ shot. Let's see. Will you consider Pfizer or Moderna as your second shot? I don't know. I would want to know about the actual, like, if there's validity to any benefit there. So in Germany, they recommend Pfizer after AZ for the second dose as it's mRNA based and the overlap apparently is a good thing. No clue really. Yeah, I don't know. I want to follow as much as possible the good research. And that's one of the reasons why I'm glad that, I was not one of the first 7 people that got the vaccine because I wanted to understand, originally we were saying like 2 weeks later you have to have the second one, and then they were talking about 4 months, and I was like, well, that's dangerous to me. Without knowing the data, that's really weird that they would like just be okay with extending it like that. And so I did some research, and on AstraZeneca's webpage, they were like, the most efficacy is if you wait 4 months. No more, no less, but 4 months is where you hit like, we're good. And I was like, oh, okay. That I can appreciate. But the impression I had from the way that they framed the whole conversation was that they were fine with like, okay, well, we want to make the vaccine supply last, so we'll just stretch it out to 4 weeks or whatever, 4 months or whatever, and that way we're good. And I was like, that's not cool. Like, don't do that. Don't fuck with people like that. Um, I use smokes to bribe them to do their chores. Lol. Prison rules up in here. Hell yes. Hell yes. I 100% am down with that. My bribing kids is important. It's always forced. Well, for me, it used to be 3. It used to be 3, and then he started like pushing it. So when they first started bumming smokes off me, I was just giving them smokes, and then I noticed I was going through like a ridiculous quantity of cigarettes, and cigarettes ain't cheap. So I was like, I lost it one day, and I was like, you guys, you don't clean around the house, you don't help, you're not doing school very much, fuck off. And so they've been much better about it. And I limited them for a long time to 6 a day each, which is still half a pack of cigarettes a day between the two of them, which means that, I'm still kicking a bunch of money. And I hate the fact that I'm giving my kids cigarettes, but I also hate the fact that, like, I can't, if I have $20 and you're hungry, I can't just eat in front of you. Right? So if I have a pack of smokes and you're wanting a cigarette, I kind of, most of the time I give them to you. I often give cigarettes to, like, the guys on the street that are asking just because, hey, I get it. I've been there. I totally, yeah, it's a thing. But that said, I sure fucking hate the amount. I hate giving cigarettes to my kids because I don't want them to smoke. It's a terrible fucking habit. I quit for 8 years. I don't know if I ever talked about that on here before or not, but when I was still married, I quit. And I used the easy way to quit smoking. And it worked. It worked really well for me, and I was good. And I went 8 years. I'm sure I must have talked about this before. Anyways, I got pissy one night. I had a bad night, bad date. Wound up visiting a friend of mine, and she had cigarettes. And I was like, one cigarette won't hurt. And it hurt. It hurt a lot. It's been years. But the good news is I know I can quit again. The bad news is I reread that book, and it absolutely did not fucking help me quit smoking again. It was completely not a thing. So, such is life. So far, so good. I think I'm going to take me a cigarette break here. But don't go nowhere. I'll play some music for us. Hopefully, if I haven't fucked everything up. So I'm thinking I'm going to start with that Sedition Choir song. The one that I have, unfortunately, I only have one song, but it's called False Confession. And what will I play with that? I was listening earlier to, do I have... No, I don't. What's Crom Down I was going to play, but I don't have it. Maybe I'll play, since I'm going for a smoke, I'll play Nicotine by Dead Pixel after that. And it will be awesome, and you will think I am cool or something. And cue last. And that seems to be playing. And here, make sure. All right. Right.
staring at the clock. Oh, on my way to an early heart attack. Stress is rising, nerves are wrecked. Oh, somebody give me a goddamn cigarette. Tick-tock, it just won't stop. The ringing and the clicking and the cool talk. Only one thing get me through the day. A cigarette or five to keep 'em insane. So good, I speak true. I never make it far. I tend to go a little crazy and I start thinking maybe it's the price to pay for the mistakes I've made, for the mistakes I've made. And it gets me through and there's nothing to do. What's the harm in a drag to the day keeps on rounding, monotony is haunting. What can you do? Go away, I don't care about today. We're off again, the 9 to 5 just the same. Dream of the day when I can burn it all down. A lot of smoke upon the smoldering ground. So good, I speak truth. I never make it far. I tend to go a little crazy and I start thinking maybe it's the price to pay for the mistakes I've made, for the mistakes I've made. And it gets me through and there's nothing to do. What's the harm in a drag to the day keeps on rounding, monotony is haunting. What can you do? So good, I speak truth. So good, I speak truth. So good, I speak truth.
Oh, that was fun, wasn't it? All right, I am back, and I'm just trying to figure out how to do something real quick. Give me 1 second, and I'll be able to pay attention to life again. I think it's here, and I click on no, and I right click here, and no. What the fuck am I doing? I'm trying to cast this. Oh, there's a little thing right there. Play on TV. There we go. So I was casting it on my phone, but then I couldn't watch it to get timing while I was outside. So everything makes sense, and I'm back. All right. Yeah, so that was the first track was Sedition Choirs, False Confessions, and the second one was Dead Pixel, who are so fantastic, and that is a song called Nicotine, which seemed very fitting given that I was going out for a smoke. Yeah. So in terms of stuff I wanted to chat about today, I made a list as I always do, and I figured we could start chatting about some stuff. The first thing, I watched this video this week with Hassan Piker, and he was talking about porn, and he grew up in Turkey, and porn ain't really a thing in Turkey. He, as a kid, he didn't have, there was no internet back then, so he didn't have access to porn like the rest of us. My age, nobody had access to porn. And he was talking about like when he was a kid, he drew his own boobs to masturbate to and stuff. Like I thought it was pretty fucking funny, and made me think about my first experience with porn, which was a long, long time ago. Tell that to the Turkish baths. Yeah, well, it's not that there's no porn in Turkey, definitely. It's that He, as a kid, didn't have ready access to pornography. And so, when you hit that age of curiosity. So yeah, my first experience with porn, I was 5 years old. And my older sister would have been 8 at the time. And she was so much more worldly than I. Down the street from my parents' house, there was this empty lot that is now a apartment building. But at the time, it was an empty lot, and it had like this huge bunch of bushes growing in it. And my sister, I'm assuming that what happened, according to her, like she was a super cool sister, and wanted me to share in their cool experiences. I got some hair, holy crap. Yeah, wanted me to share in their cool experiences. I think in reality, what happened was my parents were like, "Hey, your brother wants to, or we're going out. You have to look after your brother." And my sister was like, "Fine, he can tag along." And then, so her and her friend Colleen, they took me to this. This sounds way dirtier than it is. Don't worry, it's not a weird incest thing. They took me to this little bush. And in the middle of the little copse of bushes, there was this place where you could read. There was a bunch of porn mags that someone had stashed in there. And so, 5 years old, 8-year-old sister and her best friend, and we're going through these porn magazines. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at. I know it's bad, but it also feels not bad, but it's weird. But the only thing I remember vividly was there was this one woman, and you could see her breast, and on her breast she had like a saber-toothed tiger tattoo. And then the next photo, she lifted her breast up, and there was underneath it, there was a hiding caveman, and I was like, that's so funny. There's a caveman hiding under her boobie from the saber-toothed tiger, But I didn't know what it was I was looking at. I didn't know anything. I'm 5 years old. Fucking, I'm stupid. And my curious nature was, really already in play. And I remember I was in the bathroom, and my mom was doing makeup or something. She was, in the bathroom also. And very coolly, I said, Mom, what's a Playboy? Not that there's any in the bushes down the street. I wouldn't know. But what is one? That went well. I got my ass kicked by my sister for that. But definitely was a very early experience with pornography. Is ready access to pornography a human right or exploitation or a wonderful profession, or is it time to kill the tyranny of the or, i.e., is it a wonderful profession and its exploitation at times? And so my answer to that is I think that sex work is real work. And I think that the exploitation that happens in sex work comes largely as a result of the fact that sex work isn't properly regulated by making most of it criminal. It means that industry is open essentially to the shittiest of people, especially in the aspects that are illegal. But because it's a taboo subject, we don't have a government coalition on the status of nude models. So the people who create adult magazines or adult content or whatever don't have a lot of overarching, as long as they're not violating the actual laws that would push them into the realm of illegal. They kind of don't have a whole lot of oversight, and so they can be exploitative. I think the answer to the exploitation question is we need to accept the fact that sex work is happening and that it's going to continue to happen, and that it's worth protecting the people who are in the sex trade, and therefore having, as much as it's uncomfortable for adult conservative folks to embrace, having a means to effectively monitor and care about that, and to give that oversight and safety and precautions and all that stuff. I just, it's going to happen, and it's ridiculous to pretend like it's not going to happen. So let's make sure it happens safely and positively, because sex work can be fantastic. I was actually writing a script for doing one of my little yammers about sex work, and I haven't finished it yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to, because I also feel like, I have this imposter syndrome thing that pops up a lot, and when I talk about areas that do not directly affect me, like I could yammer for a great deal about what it's like to be a shitty bass player, or a local musician or a local promoter or whatever. But if I'm talking about Black Lives Matter, I'm a honky. Don't know if you noticed, but I feel it's valid. I feel that it's good for honkies to raise their voice in support, and to do that. And I think the same is true for sex work. So I probably will wind up doing it, but I also feel like I'm not an expert, and sometimes that can be a problem. Let me see. So is ready access to pornography a human right? I wouldn't say it's a human right. I would say it's something that we need to accept. Is it a wonderful profession or not? I think it should be, and I think the exploitation should be lessened by proper oversight. My dad had a subscription to Playboy. Every issue in the basement of my on special shelves. He thought it was my brother. It wasn't. Yeah, actually, Sugar, knowing you as I do, I absolutely believe everything you just said is true. Definitely not something any MP or MLA would stand up for and pitch, at least not at present. Absolutely not. There's so much pretentious need to pretend like we're paragons of virtue, which is bullshit. It's why I don't ever want to consider running. Until that changes, until I can be me and be an elected official, what's the point? If I have to pretend to be, in order to get reelected, I have to be like, oh yes, I'm against abortions. No, I'm fucking not. But too many people will go, oh, morality says I can't vote for you. I don't see trade unions lining up to embrace and organize it either, by the way. I agree, trade unions are not doing that, and it's because of their own, cowardice and stuff. I would love to see a trade union form of sex workers that was an effective trade union. No left or right on this issue, really, from a cultural perspective in that sense. There is a left and right, but it's really like, your actual left and right is like left, liberal, conservative, fascist, right? I mean, I'm super simplifying. And basically anything past leftist is going to have real trouble with that. And a lot of leftists will still have trouble with that. Sex work is, it's been demonized. The usual advocates for business or labor and government are sadly missing on this issue. Absolutely. Needs to be mainstream. Absolutely it needs to be mainstream. And the Amsterdam model of sex work makes sense to me in the sense of legality and all of that. But I want to go farther. I want to make sure that not only is it like, yes, this horrible taboo is legal in this one little dirty part of town. Why? Why wouldn't we just fucking make it a perfectly legal thing, a perfectly safe thing, where exploitation and coercion are actually actively fought against? I think one of the coolest things when it comes to sex work, many years ago, I knew a girl who was an escort. And many years ago, as in like the conversation was many years ago. That particular person I don't know anymore, but I know many sex workers. So it's not like me. Oh yeah, a long time ago before I got cool. The person in question, we were talking, and they were an escort, and explained to me that they were not breaking the law, and I was like, but I agree that it shouldn't be illegal, but you kind of are. And that's when I figured out the details around the fact that it is perfectly legal. And what the fuck am I saying? The law, at least in Canada, was at the time that what was illegal was living off the avails of a prostitute or soliciting for the purposes of sex in a public place. So having a phone call where you say, yes, I will come to your house and we will have a date, and that was all scheduled by a company, that was perfectly legal. And I believe still is. So the agreement that you have is for a date with a person. And then if that person wants to have, the coitus, that is a separate conversation. My understanding is that that's how the escort system works, is that the people are getting, the agency is getting paid for arranging a date and not for arranging sex. And it's to me that's an interesting concept because it's what they're doing is not illegal, and it meets a need and makes sure that everyone is cool. And I think that actually should be considered empowering, frankly. But hey, I'm just a dude. Let's see. Even in Amsterdam, the fascists are starting to have an effect, and the neoliberals and so-called social democrats aren't exactly stepping up. Liberals do not step up on any topic. The only time they step up is to maintain the status quo. So when fascists walk and they go, "We are walking because people of color are scum," then liberals will be like, "That's not okay." But if they go, "We're walking to support our free speech," and our free speech, which Voltaire says is important, is that we can say that people of color are terrible and awful, then liberals are like, "I support free speech, guy. Let me march with you." That's fucking facts. Legal from her perspective, you mean? Yeah, Voltaire's Bastards. Yes, Voltaire's Bastards. Who was that? Who wrote that book? I tried reading it and didn't get very far in. It was a little over my head in terms of, but it was the husband of Adrienne Clarkson, the then Governor General of Canada. I can't think of his name, but really excellent book. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. John Ralston Saul, exactly. I knew I could count on you, bright sparkling undergarments. Now it's different. Living off the avails is illegal. Procuring is illegal. Advertising in public is illegal. All of it is dumb. There's going to be prostitution. There's going to be pornography. There's going to be... all of that shit's real. It's going to happen. Stop criminalizing it and start protecting. Like, that's what our elected officials should be doing, is protecting people from exploitation. I don't think that's a hot take. I don't think that's like, holy shit, is old Jim ever a crazy lefty? That just, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know what the fuck the problem is. My other story about porn was my first encounter with phone sex. And when I was a kid, in elementary school, probably grade 2 or 3, someone got this phone number. And I got handed a note with this phone number on it, and I was like, okay. And they're like, just call it. So I go home, and I call the number, and I'm like, and it was a phone sex line, and it was this woman saying all of these. It was pre-recorded. We weren't where we are now in terms of like, live cam models and stuff. This is like 6 or 7 years ago when I was a kid. And it was like, I don't know what's happening. I know it's neat, and I know it's not supposed to happen, but I don't know how I've got this magic thing happening right now. Like, holy shit. And I must have, between my house and my buddy's houses, must have called this number like 8 or 9 times and listened to it. And I remember specifically, this is a long time ago, and I specifically remember it ending with, "Call me tomorrow and I'll lick you dry." And I was like, I don't know what that means. Like, licks dry doesn't make sense. But we were super interested in this, and it was so cool. No one explained to us the concept of a long distance charge, numbers that were specifically like the 900 numbers that were set up to bill by the minute. So that didn't last long. One of our parents got their phone bill and just like, and her shit got fucking talked to. I can tell you that. Sorry, Gene, but yes, batshit crazy lefty does seem to apply. Whether you take that as a compliment or not is up to you. Oh, I definitely am a batshit crazy lefty, 100%. But I think my take on sex work is not a batshit crazy lefty take. I think that I think it's a human take that's not terribly progressive. It's just not conservative. Let's see. Decriminalization is having a good conversation on the workers' side, illegal for the client, though. Yeah, and there is a societal need to punish the John. We feel that the John is the reason all of this is happening. The skeevy, terrible man who takes advantage of the woman and makes her a whore. That's funny to me because the actual fault, if there is a fault to be had, the actual fault lies with our society. It lies with the fact that we put a premium on sexual experience, and B, we make for a criminalized sex work scenario. Punishing a guy for paying for sex to me is just as stupid as punishing a woman for accepting money for sex. Gender's obviously, like, I'm talking about the generalization of it's a man buying sex from a woman. Obviously, sex work can occur in straight, gay, every possible context. Yeah, Joan Jett, I don't give a damn about my reputation living in the past. It's a new generation. A girl can do what she wants to do, and that's what I'm going to do. Fuck yes. Yeah, my thing on the concept of criminalizing Johns, when I was younger, when they started doing that thing where they were publishing the names of Johns in the newspaper, I was like, yes, that's right. They should be publicly shamed for being horrible, horrible people. Obviously, my tune has changed on that. I think that it is not unreasonable. I consider it outsourcing, right? If you are a person who wants sexual encounter, whether it's maybe it's something that you don't have access to in your regular life because of it being a niche thing. Like one of the best examples I've ever heard. Again, going back to polyamory, one of the things in the world of polyamory, there's the thing called the unicorn. And the unicorn, when couples become polyamorous and they go into a polyamorous group and they're like, well, we're a married couple and we're seeking a bisexual girl to love us both and have some playtime. Those are unicorn hunters. And what that means is they're looking for the mystical unicorn of a bisexual person who will just be the tool of their sex toy. It's actually a grotesque concept. And I'll tell you why. First off, the assumption then is that both of the people in the relationship will have equal interest in the unicorn, and the unicorn will have equal interest in both of the people. What happens when the unicorn and, let's say, the guy in question, just no particular reason, but let's just say the guy in question, let's say the girl, the unicorn, isn't interested in the guy and has a loving relationship with the third party. We'll say it's a girl. Again, I'm using stereotypes, but whatever. That unicorn either has to give up a loving relationship with this other person because they don't want to sleep with this person, or they have to keep sleeping with that person in order to have the loving relationship. Like that's a coercive thing. And the unicorn thing is very terrible. Where was I going with that? Yeah. So I saw a thing that was talking about, like, well, what do you do if you want to have, a reasonably decent three-way relationship type of scenario? And one of the suggestions was if it's just sex that you're looking for, hire a prostitute. The prostitute will come and have sex with both of you, and it'll be awesome, and they know what they're doing, and everything's good, and who gives a shit? And I just thought that was actually pretty fucking clever. An example of my outsourcing model. I'm a contractor by day for oil and gas companies, and I am outsourced. So I don't work for a particular large company. They bring me in for contracts. And it's because the particular skills that I have, they don't need to have as a day-to-day thing. Or those particular companies don't have as a day-to-day thing. They don't need to have me on employee staff. But when I am useful to them, I'm super useful. I'm worth the money, and they'll pay extra to have me pop in, do the work, and leave. How is that any different if the work happens to be sex? Right? If I'm, let's just say, I'm a hideous chud man. I'm not. I'm gorgeous. But let's just say I'm a hideous chud man, and my ability to attract a woman who wants to have a sexual relationship with me just isn't there, right? And it's not that I'm like, you know, a cruel man or whatever. I'm just, I don't have confidence. I don't have whatever the case is. I'm not able to you know, seal the deal. Why wouldn't I then consider the option of prostitution? I have a biological desire and need that I can meet in a way that you know, as long as I'm a decent human being, isn't harming anyone and is in fact benefiting the person providing the service. That's outsourcing. I don't see why it's such a big fucking deal. I think it's a Puritan mindset that says, you know, oh, but sex is beautiful and for married people and for people who love each other. I've had a lot of sex where love wasn't involved. It's that's a glowing endorsement of having sex that where love isn't involved, because sometimes I'm not a big casual sex guy, but it has happened certainly. But I prefer to have some kind of connection with the people that I'm hanging out with my pants off, and that's a thing. But I don't have to necessarily like love them or want to marry them in order to have the sex. And who cares? How is it immoral for me to pay someone who doesn't love me to have sex with me, but not immoral for me to buy dinner and, you know, movie and stuff and have sex with someone who I don't want to grow old with and die with? Like, it's such a semantic thing. Who fucking cares? Who gives a shit what you're doing with your wiener? Stop being involved in criminalizing it. Start being involved in protecting the people involved in the process, including Johns. That's, yeah. I am a filthy whore. I trade my time for money. Filthy lucre, filthy Jim, bang on Corley. Totally. I refer to myself as a whore for industry. So that is absolutely a thing. Everyone deserves human touch and comfort. Sex workers are basically therapists that go the extra mile. Fuck yes. Fuck yes. I remember watching Boston Legal. I don't know if anyone watched that show, but I loved that show. And what's his face? What's his name? The guy who plays Ultron. James Spader. His character has some deep-seated sexual problems that he encounters midway through the series. And he hires a sexual surrogate, which is essentially a sex therapist. And there's a whole thing where she gets busted, and it's like terrible, and it made for great TV. But yeah, his perspective on it was, why the fuck shouldn't I? Why can't I do this? It doesn't, you know, I'm actually getting therapeutic benefit out of this. And yeah, everyone deserves human touch and comfort. And not everyone gets it just by being a super chat, right? I've had long dry spells in my life when it came to sex, and a lot of the times those dry spells were based entirely on my own shortcomings. And I'm not talking about being ugly. I'm not talking about being, whatever. I'm talking about my own head, where I was at. I wasn't able to be confident enough to have a conversation that could lead in that direction. So I, to be perfectly clear, when I'm watching you, I have both hands on the keyboard. Well, that's my other channel. Come to my OnlyFans. Which I would fucking have. If I felt really that there was a market for someone that looks like me, I would fucking rub away. Just send me tips. Shortcomings. I'm such a child. Yes. Yes, you are a child. Wow, yeah, that was a whole thing. Like we got on a ramble there that started with me talking about reading porn mags. But yeah, 100%. I support sex work. I support sex workers and their protection. I support Johns and their protection. And I think that we can fucking do better. We can make sure that people are safe and secure and loved. I just don't get why that's a problem. But then, that's me. I'm a weirdo. Oh, coffee is so wonderful. Yeah, so those were my early experiences with pornography. The other one that I could relate, me and my buddy Jason Cholak, we were probably again around like grade 3 or 4, and we used to garbage pick because that's what kids did. So we'd wander around the alleys and look for stuff, and we found some cool shit. Like I had a replica of a World War I bayonet, like legit knife, had the clip to go on. It was a replica, but how fucking cool is that? I screwed up because I didn't understand the world, and I knew that my parents would not be okay with me having a knife. So I hid it, and I hid it in someone's eaves trough in the back alley off their garage, so that it would be there and it would be hidden and no one would steal it, and then I would know where it is, and that's cool. And what do eaves troughs do? They gather rain. So basically, I stuck this thing in a pool and left it. It rusted to shit, but. Client's not John's. It's belittling. If we belittle the client, then we diminish the profession. That's fair. That is absolutely fair. I hadn't considered that. To me, John's was vernacular. But yeah, you're right. It is a belittling term. So I will say clients from henceforth because I think that's you have a very valid point there. And John's always seemed like such an awkward, like, why are they Johns? But then we live in a world with Chads and Kyles, so. Fair enough, but yeah, I will definitely take that note. Clients is a better term. So thank you. Anyways, we're going through back alleys, and there was this house down the road from us called the Head's House. Because back in those days of the early '80s, there were headbangers, which were metalhead kids, and we were fairly certain that they were a street gang because we didn't know what a street gang looked like. True story. And they were very scary because we built up stories about them. Like my then friend Matthew told about he found batteries in the skating rink where they hung out, and the battery had like exploded because batteries do that eventually, and it was covered in like dry battery acid, and he had decided that it was actually a type of salt, and that this was a salt battery, and that's a crime. So he was formulating a case. I kid you not, this is what like my brain still remembers a salt battery and just not getting it. Anyways, the heads were scary, and behind the head's house, where two of the heads lived with their parents, we found like 3 boxes of stuff that they were throwing out, and there was a bunch of like porn mags, but also like Polaroid photos of women out in the world completely naked, like standing next to a tree in the middle of nowhere and shit. And that shit, the fact that like this wasn't like a magazine where somebody got paid to do that, it was just a real human being having a photo taken. I was like, that happens? Holy shit, the world is cool. So yeah, I don't know. Enough sex talk, Jim, you perv. Jesus. What do I figure I want to chat about? Let's take a look at my list of stuff. Kind of already talked about this. I made a note that said, are the conservatives all fascists? And by that I mean talk about liberal voices joining theirs to protect free speech. This is a thing that's been bugging me a lot lately because of the anti-mask movement, which, let's be honest, it's not fascism, but it's like so adjacent to fascism that you can't tell the difference. And I say that not because every single person who doesn't want to wear a mask is a fascist. I say that because the people who are promoting and engaging that group are fucking fascists. And they are absolutely people who are doing the shit to promote fascism. And they're doing it in the clever ways of the alt-right and the ways that people are doing shit now. It's not about being overtly fashy and walking around with a shaved head and jackboots and red laces. It's about being just like everybody else and being on the internet and going, let's talk about race, but let's have a real conversation about the science behind it, which of course is bullshit. Fucking bullshit. Their points are garbage. They don't understand science and they need to shut the fuck up because they're fascists. But yeah, a dog whistle is a dog whistle no matter who's using it. One of the ways that the fascists have had this resurgence has been in co-opting other movements. Things like the anti-vaccine movement, things like incels, all of these groups, the alt-right is like right in there, whispering their little devil's whispers in the ear, going like, yes, yes, my child. But the problem really is that you are discriminated against. And it's just fucking stupid. Yeah, vaccines are a huge source of that. My ex-wife would go on her mommy net, and that was how she got radicalized to be an anti-vax person. And I say radicalized because, yeah, that's just, it's radicalization, period, end of sentence. And then from there, it's like this steady set of little things that push you further and farther to the right until you become a shitty fascist. And it's like a heroin addiction where, you don't see it coming, but all of a sudden you're there. Moral Maj, they don't deserve to be named. The moral majority, absolutely, another example. All of these groups are right-wing, and they're far right-wing. And all of the people who are standing next to them are not necessarily right-wing people and not necessarily far right-wing people. A lot of them would consider themselves liberals and lefty types. Although liberals, in my mind, are not leftists. Leftists are further over. Liberals are status quo protectors. But, and I was talking about this a second ago, the whole concept of like what Voltaire's bastards and the idea that, I would die for your right to say it, free speech and all that jibber jabber. And I did a video about free speech absolutism. No such thing. No such thing. And if anyone in the chat wants to be like, no, I'm a free speech absolutist, I'll give you the one example that will shut that right down. Stolen directly from my video, so, or you can just watch the vlog video and give me that extra view. But the liberals stand with them because I don't like the extreme left any more than I like the extreme left. Well, I'm extreme left. I don't think that extreme left is authoritarian. I think that the one aspect of the extreme left sort of branches off from the left and becomes authoritarian. Vosh did a video where he drew the horseshoe and then was like, I don't like that. I think, here's your line, and then somewhere along here as you get to the left, where my hand is on the right, I don't know why, it springs back towards authoritarianism. In my mind, leftist concept is not communism. It is ultimately utopian socialism, which is not about totalitarianism or authoritarianism. I think authoritarianism is the worst shit going, and a destruction of the freedom of people. And I think that socialism's goal is to free people, as is the goal of capitalism. Capitalism just sucks shit at it. So that's the thing. In my view, and simplistic, I know, China extreme left authoritarian, Russia extreme right authoritarian, or USA with Trump, if you will. And I get that, and I certainly would not side with China as an extreme left, although, even there, the blur with their embracing of capitalism is hard to discount. But if we think about Russia in the days of the Soviet Union, being that extreme left, but with an authoritarian side. This is where horseshoe theory comes from. That your left and right kind of bend and horseshoe at the concept of authoritarianism. But like Marx didn't talk about creating a state with a authoritarian leadership. Socialism isn't about having and left philosophies aren't about implementing a totalitarian ruler who takes care of the people. What they're about is power to the people, and the people taking control of the means of production. And that to me is not authoritarian. Authoritarianism, essentially what happens is we falter because we're scared of change. So when you look at like the Russian Revolution, Lenin came along and was like, we're going to work, we're going to get there. And made, I think, steps to get there. And by the time Stalin came along, the people were just not comfortable with the idea of not having a big boss man. And Stalin was like, I got you, boo. And became the big boss man. And I think that the danger in socialism is the potential for that fear of the unknown to prevent us from being free and from using things like trade unions and whatnot to determine our interests. The role of a Stalin is so easy to just sort of slip in and be like, well, yeah, we'll get there, guys, but like first, let me just take care of this. Let me get us across the line, and then they never do. The rise of the proletariat requires authoritarianism. Lenin advocated taking the means of production. Absolutely, there certainly there is a violent undertone to those conversations. I'm by no means a expert on the theory and all that kind of stuff, but I do believe that taking the means of production, whatever that looks like, is the only way to get there. The capitalists are never going to give it to you. The capitalists are never going to allow it to just slowly be taken away from them. The oligarchs at top have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo, and they use liberals for that. And I do agree that is an unfortunate thing. I would much rather that revolution be calm and pretty and nice, but that ain't the world, because the world doesn't let you share. The world says, no, you can't have your piece of the pie. To me, it's a real downside of our system that in order to implement a socialist type of framework, you would have to force the Bezoses and the Soroses and all of the other Oses to give up some of what they have. And they won't do that without a fight. And they're really good at making people work against their interests. The whole concept of conservatism is essentially wealthy people consolidating power and using poor and working class white people as their foot soldiers in doing that. All politics does come down to class war. I don't want to be that person. I believe the class is not the only thing. But in this kind of conversation, it's apt and accurate to say that we have a common enemy, and that common enemy is really good at turning us against ourselves. What would save North Korea if we're talking extremes? They are an extreme. So I know about North Korea in the sense of, like, I've read the newspaper, and I know that they're sort of hierarchical, all the time crappy governments run by the Kim family, the dynasty. They are essentially god creatures on Earth. In terms of what would save them, I mean, revolution is the only answer. Because the Kim family isn't going to be like, you know what? Why don't we give people more rights and more? Every single thing that we have today, someone fought and died for. That's a uncomfortable reality. we don't think about trade unions in the violence of their origination. We don't think about the 8-hour workday as being the result of violence, but it fucking was. And holy shit! So Korea, you're not gonna be able to get a better Korea by asking for it. The only way to get a better anything is to take it. That sucks. I don't want to be that person. I'm an old man now. I don't want to be fist fighting for anything, but that's kind of the world. Think about it like this. I got hired at a current contract about 2 years ago. And this is not me sassing the company that I am employed at right now. It's completely unrelated to that. But this company hired me at a particular rate. And it's been 2 years, and I have not seen an increase in that rate. That company will never give me an increase in that rate unless I specifically ask for it. And unless there is a sense that that threat of losing me matters. It doesn't matter that that rate is worth less every year thanks to inflation. That company doesn't care about that. That company has me. The books are easy. It knows how much money it pays out to me, and it doesn't care. And even if I ask, they will 9 times out of 10 say no, unless they feel that they have to give me that money. I asked this past contract, my contract will be extended, and I was like, "Can we talk about a little increase, a little something?" And I got the answer that I absolutely expected, the answer that is the correct answer, which is, things are difficult right now, and I'm not sure, we can try. And that is true, and I certainly don't fault them for saying that. But it's also bullshit. Times are tough. The corporation makes lots of money. The corporation has expenses. But what times are tough means is that I don't have as many options to go somewhere else to get them the money that I'm asking for. So why should they? And I don't fault them for that. That is capitalism. That is exactly the thing. I won't get an increase unless I put them in a position where I have to get an increase. Bright Sparkly Undergarments, the company that you and I worked for, I was the the young fellow that I worked with, and I'm not naming names, but the amazing young fellow that I worked with, once he left, I was the lowest paid person doing my job in that entire company. Lowest paid. The only reason he got less than me was because he started off in the service desk and was pushed forward because of his incredible ability. And they, you know who I'm referring to. And they didn't compensate him like he was getting a new job as a BA. They compensated him like, here's a $5 an hour raise, buddy. But the difference in service desk and BA was pretty substantial. So I was the lowest paid BA when he left. And I left for a year and a half and came back. I would not say that in that year and a half I became more valuable, and yet they increased my rate by basically half when I came back. Had I asked them at the time, hey, can I just have half more? They'd have said no. I'm way off the concept of Korea, but my whole point in that was that capitalism is structured to not give you anything. Korea is structured to not give you anything. The only way for change to occur is through taking down and forcing change. Kim is the figurehead, an absolute dictator. Who benefits from keeping him in power? If he were to die, who would step in or put another figurehead? I wonder. Well, they have other people that are in the wings for this. Like there was a thing where people thought that Kim Jong-un was dead, and they started talking about, I can't remember, his sister, I think, which weirdly progressive that Korea could have a female leader before America. Like, oh my God. But so North Koreans overthrow the Kim government, and then the country is all libertarian. I'm not saying that they should just install a libertarian government. I'm not sure what what you're wanting me to say. Like, is there a button you can push to just eject the Kims and implement a modern progressive social democracy or something? Like, I don't think so. I think all of these things are, steps along the way, steps along the path. And what is the right direction for Korea? I couldn't tell you because I'm not Korean. And I shouldn't tell you because I'm not Korean, because I'm not, I don't have a knowledge of the country and the culture and the morality, the shared norms, all of that stuff that would be, yes, you absolutely need to replace Kim with something. That's going to have to be up to the people to figure out what direction they want to go. So in the Russian Revolution, they had to replace the czars with something, and the something they chose was the implementation of communism. Hey, congratulations! I've received 100 messages today with Restream Chat. I can tweet that. Too bad I don't have a Twitter account. They aren't equipped to replace him with somebody. While they might be able to topple him, fill it with what? Again, I can't say who the next leader of North Korea should be. I can't say what the North Koreans should do. I can say that the change has to come from the people, and the new leadership has to be what the people push for. Hopefully that's a good thing, right? But it isn't always. Pol Pot came about because the people wanted a new leader. Yes, Canadian, that's my question. So ultimately, I can't answer the question because I don't know that there is an answer that makes sense outside. There are a million directions they could go. They could overthrow the country, the Kim Empire, whatever you want to call it, and reach out to America to say, like, help us build a capitalist society and Japan as the model. Because remember, 100 years, well, a little more than 100, no, I guess, yeah, 100 years ago, Japan was an empire that was very feudal and had an emperor who was the god king of the world. And now they are not. You could reach out to other countries and have support in developing a social infrastructure for, like, democratic socialism or fascism or capitalism or whatever. It's Kim Jong-un. I don't think I should be the leader of North Korea. I'm fairly certain the North Koreans aren't behind that idea either. But I would be a great, loving leader with a totalitarian fist. Yeah, that would be just about as bad. That would absolutely be just about as bad. I would be the worst king of Korea. What I'm getting at is that the answer needs to come from the people. Just like, hopefully the answer is that they become a wonderful utopian socialist paradise and everything is wonderful. But that probably isn't the case. That probably is, they're going to make a million missteps, but as long as the Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-sun, I think was I'm not sure. As long as those people are in power, ain't nothing going to fucking change. So the people have to do it. The people have to figure it out. Cuba, reach out to Cuba. Absolutely. Cuba has had a fucking hell of a hard go. But they've come through. Cuba's now the number one place, I think, for medical doctor training. Fuck the U.S., it's Cuba, which is surreal. Death Eater's got to head up. Okay, it's good chatting with you. I don't know who Death Eater is. The internet's such a bitch. Oh my god, no. It's like being a punk rock people. Oh, Dave, okay. Shithead Dave. Dave Anderson, my patron. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, Cuba has had to struggle to be self-sufficient because of American embargoes, and America's embargo on Cuba came specifically because in that country, America was the Kim family. They were controlling the country. They were keeping the people in poverty to have a destination play place. And the people stood up and they backed Castro and Che Guevara, and I'm not going to pretend like Castro and Che Guevara was the right answer because I don't fucking know what the right answer was. And I will not apologize, or not apologize, I will not pretend like Castro, was nothing but good. He was, in a lot of ways, an awful person who treated a lot of the people who lived under him with cruelty and, like, very problematic. But his overall vision was important. I had a contemporary history class back in college that I thought was really interesting, and we talked about one of the theories, and it's just like conspiracy theory bullshit, but one of the theories amongst historians is that after the Bay of Pigs and the humiliation the Americans felt, and then after the Cuban Missile Crisis, part of the easing of tensions was Castro allegedly had a conversation with Kennedy where he said, tell you what, as long as I am the president of Cuba, America can't invade. They have to leave us the fuck alone. Now, America, again, this is speculation, not by me, by historians, but it's not like historical, accurate fact. It's a theory. And the theory goes, the Americans looked at Castro and were like, well, he's no youngin'. Sure. How long could he really be in power? And then fucking Castro lived forever. He's dead now, but he lived a good, long life, and America didn't mess with Cuba. They embargoed them, and they did all kinds of things. They never set foot on Cuban soil, which is actually a thing, because they did so much to undermine other communist groups, especially in Central and South America. They really, like, the CIA had a huge hard-on for destroying those countries. The best way to establish a capitalist society or a fascist society is to say we want to elect a communist or a socialist through a legal, legitimate election, and then CIA will help you make it fascist. These are facts. Where am I going now? Anyways, yeah. So North Korea could totally reach out to Cuba, not to like become Cuba 2 Electric Boogaloo, but for the direction on how to get through that evolution of this country. Segue, should there be a universal basic income? Fuck yes. And I'll tell you why. Because it's not just, bullshit lefty crap. You know what? Let's hold that. I'm gonna have a smoke because I bet it's like exactly an hour since I had a smoke. I could tell. I'm gonna have a smoke, and when I come back, that's exactly what we'll talk about: is universal basic income and why I support it, and why I'll talk about some of the things that people use in argument to it, and we'll hopefully have a great conversation. In the meantime, I'm gonna play some music and smoke a cigarette. I'm gonna play 2 songs because that seems to be about right for me to go for a smoke. So let me see, what do I want to play? Walking Dead by Dead Neck Fury. This is some OG beercore right here. Those are fantastic stuff. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna play The Devil's Mistress by God Spilt the Milk, and that should give me time to get my smoke in. But yeah, so Dead Neck Fury, OG beercore. These are early beercore days. These are my bros. So many pits, and this song is fantastic. And then God Spilt the Milk is a new band, local band, fantastic, very different vibe. I think you'll like it anyway, despite it being different from Dead Neck Fury. But here we go, going for a smoke. Where's my smoking? Song absolutely kicks ass. And that's actually, I don't know if you guys know Fat Tony, but Fat Tony from the Conniving Cadavers and Deluge and a bunch of other projects. That's one of his new projects, and that's how I found out about them. And really good. I'll when I edit this afterwards, I'll include a link to their Bandcamp so you guys can all love and enjoy and appreciate it as I do. People can afford decent food and their medications. It relieves our healthcare system as well. People with basic means commit less crime. 100% agree. So now I'm going to explain why I support the concept of a universal basic income. And for the record, I don't support a universal basic income of like $500. Because I saw there was a thing recently, like probably, I guess about a year ago, where they were, somebody asked all of the different federal parties what they thought about a UBI. And every party that, at least as far as I remember, every party was supportive of the concept, but wildly different levels. Unsurprisingly, the NDP came in at the highest, and the conservatives were like $500 a month, guaranteed. So first off, let me dispel a concept. Universal basic income doesn't mean that everybody gets free money every month. It literally means that people who make under a certain level don't. So if, let's just say I'm working and I can only work part-time and I'm trying to like live and I'm making, Ainsley, super big hearts. That woman has such a voice. If I'm working part-time and I'm struggling and stuff, I should, by, the concept of this, I should have whatever I'm making be topped up to a point where I have a guaranteed basic income every month of money that's available to me. So it's not that, George Soros gets free money every month too. It's not about that. It's about making sure everybody, the bar is set at the lowest possible point where we feel like people should be able to, survive. So $500 is a joke. When you have a UBI of $500, you may as well not have a UBI. $2,000 is a good example because $2,000 was what our CERB was. And CERB in Canada, for any, I know there's like 6 people that are watching right now. So that's, you're probably all from right here in Calgary. But except for Bright Specular Undergarments, who is from BC. So we're all Canadians. We're all Canadians here. But in case any American is watching this, when you guys got your benefit cash payouts for, dealing with the whole coronavirus thing, y'all got the shaft. We got the people who applied for CERB who lost their jobs because of CERB, or because of COVID, or whose income was dramatically affected because of COVID. $2,000 a month was what we got every month, and that, to me, that was like a test case for a UBI, and the benefit that came of this was massive. $2,000 per month versus my one single America check. Fuck Trump. Fuck Trump 100%. That was gross mismanagement. And it is capitalism. Because the idea that like, oh, you just won't have a work, but here's a check for $600. Vote for me. Fucking crazy. $2,000 a month as a universal basic income. And I'll use that as my example. That means that no matter how poor you are, you can rely on having $2,000 a month. That means that you can probably have at least a subsistence living where you would have your rent paid and food paid and your utilities paid. And you may not have a whole lot more than that, but maybe you will, right? Depending on circumstances. So you run into a situation where what about all the poors who suddenly will have no desire to work ever. That's a dumb argument. Subsistence living isn't what most people want. And CERB showed that. A lot of people who applied for CERB were looking for work and found work and got off of CERB. Certainly not everybody. Not everybody could, but having that protection in place ensured that we wouldn't, die homeless. More importantly, what COVID showed was that infusion of money at the socioeconomic bottom was way more important from a maintaining the economy perspective, versus any amount of money that is given to big corporations to trickle down to the people, because it doesn't. I'm looking at you, $1.47 billion given to in Canada, who then moved to the States. $2,000 a month meant that not only could people pay their rent and stay off the street, but they actually had enough to have a little bit of thrive. Not a huge, like, no one's buying yachts, but the people who had that $2,000 a month could do DoorDash, could, go, buy a thing on Amazon, whatever. Not that you should ever buy things on Amazon. Fuck Amazon. Sorry, Twitch. The end result of having that extra money means income in circulation. Not just your rent, but the additional money that is spent. It's all actively in motion. It's not sitting in a bank account. It is moving in the economy, generating activity, which is what an economy needs to do. So from a pure economics perspective, it only makes sense, and it is proven out to make sense that if you have a universal basic income, your economy will be strengthened. Now, to the points that Sugar brings up, relieving numerous outreach and support agencies and revitalizing the economy, this is the bigger issue. People who don't have enough skimp and save where they can, and sometimes they skimp and save in areas that they shouldn't. So, and this is one example. I'm going to talk about a bunch of stuff. But let's just say that I'm struggling to survive, and I'm neurodivergent, and I have medication that I need to buy. And my medication isn't covered by an employer health benefits. And I have to decide every month if I'm making the decision to buy my medication or pay my utility bill. A lot of people aren't going to pay for that medication, and that creates serious problems for them that usually will, if they're not managed, they will spill out of control and create problems for the greater society. Add to that, things like programs like food banks. We create essentially because we don't have a UBI. We create a whole pile of programs to supplement the fact that we accept that people don't deserve to have a basic income and a basic quality of life, and they suffer. And so we have food banks that are really a drop in a bucket, and food banks can't keep up with poverty. If everyone had enough money every month that they're able to have their rent covered and their food covered, that frees up a lot of social programming around exactly those things to focus on much bigger and more important issues that need to be focused on but can't be because there's only so much to go around. Now, the argument always comes up, oh yeah, well, who's going to pay for it, Jim? Who's going to pay $2,000 a month to every single Canadian? We're not talking about paying $2,000 a month to every single Canadian. But who's going to pay for it? Fucking us. Everything we do, we pay for. Maybe we don't invest as much money in jets that don't fly. Maybe we, spend less on bribing SNC-Lavalin people with prostitutes. Again, I'm pro-sex worker. I'm pretty much not okay with it using them to bribe large corporate headquarter dudes. It's a weird thing in my head. I'm pretty sure the guy who runs SNC-Lavalin can pay for fucking pussy. All right, let's see. I got some comments here. 18 million out of 26 million income earners in Canada, according to Revenue Canada, circa 2018, earned $25,000 or less. Absolutely. It's sometimes hard to see that when we are in a city. Like I live in Calgary, and Calgary is economically a fairly strong city, and a lot of people who don't make $25,000 a year here, of which there are many, but it's easy for us to be like, well, their education, blah blah blah. It's fine. They can live seven in an apartment. It's okay. Obviously, I don't feel that way, but I get why people sort of think that. But there's a lot of Canada that isn't downtown Calgary. There's a lot of Canada where $25,000 a month or a year is like riches because opportunities aren't there. So unless your answer is every single person should move to a city, and that's probably not going to be an answer that works. It's a stupid answer. People need to have stability. It's $432 billion market that big business won't exploit, and people won't want to make more than that, but will be taking care of basics so they can focus on education and career choices. And. Exactly, right? If you are guaranteed that you can have your rent and your bills paid, you can do things like, I'm going to go to school, and I'm going to, do something that's going to improve me and open new doors to me. My eldest kiddo got on CERB. They were working in a restaurant bar type of environment, and they were not making regular money. It was all right, but not great. But they got on CERB and very quickly got off because they found a job in an environment that was an office environment that paid them more, but more importantly, could have gone to school, could have done a bunch of things with the opportunity, not necessarily during COVID, but if you've got your immediate needs covered, one of the biggest traps that we do to people is we yoke them into their situation when they're poor. And, yeah, you can go to school, but how are you going to pay your rent when you do that? I did that. I went to school with a giant student loan, and I survived, but it was not an easy thing. And not everyone has that opportunity, especially with the way that they've changed so that student finance is now privatized. As I understand, I may have that wrong because I know that student finance is privatized, but I think I might be wrong about how easy it is to get student loans. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. These options are there when you have a UBI and you have that, your immediate, can I stay alive this month, is eased. Not prevented, but eased. All of a sudden you can consider options to improve. You don't have to, but you can. And a lot of people who want to can't without having those guarantees in place. 18 million earned 432 billion. That probably is true. Not everyone will do weed or drink themselves to death doing absolutely nothing. And you know what? Who cares if they fucking do? This is one of those things, and I'm not snacking on you here. But the memes about like, oh yeah, you want welfare? Pee into this cup first. Fuck off. Here's the thing about peeing into the cup for welfare and all that shit. That's a complete dirtbag take. You have to, like if you're working oil patch jobs, for example, being in Alberta, you work in an oil patch job and you have to randomly go for drug testing. Oop, shit, kicking things. You have to randomly go for drug testing. Why is that? Is it because, they don't want a bunch of junkies working for them? Or is it because you're working with machinery that can cause, like, actual environmental holocaust if you're fucking high? I think I see the difference. In Canada, it is illegal for an employer to expect you to pee in a cup, except where your job has safety requirements. I know this because the same elder kiddo was at one point working for a Purdy's, and when they brought in the marijuana legalization, they had this, oh hey, someone's following BNDR 13 is now following. Thank you, BNDR 13. When they brought in the marijuana legalization, they had this contract that they sent home with them that was like, I promise that I will not, blah, blah, blah. And the way that they did this is they were like, okay, so we have this contract. We want you to look over it. And, if you feel okay with it, you can sign it. And I read the contract and I was like, this is brilliant. This is such a great contract because it's so poorly done. Nothing in working behind the till at it's velour. Haha. Okay. Oh man, I love velour. Um, Nothing but working behind the till in a fucking chocolate store is impacted by you having a little bit of marijuana in your system. That's not me saying to all the chocolatiers in the world, get fucking high and, go on a killing spree. That's me saying, um, probably not a safety related situation. So, yeah, absolutely. Give us this contract. Since it doesn't apply and the legality doesn't apply to me, you can just wipe your ass with it. And that's basically what I told my kiddo to do, and that's what they did. So, fuck Purdy's, fuck the world. But yeah, the idea that, if I have to pee in a cup to get my money, then you should too, is stupid. And you know what? Let's just pretend that welfare people were just using their riches of millions of dollars of welfare money every month to get high and drunk and do nothing else. So fucking what? You don't write your policy based on what if people take advantage of it. You write your policy based on what if we can make the world a better place, and if some people take advantage of it and do things that we wouldn't do, all right, that sucks. I would love it if people were all super responsible and did the right thing and only ate Cheerios and had regular bowel movements and everything else, but I don't have fucking control over that. It's just dumb to pretend that that means we should just not help. If someone chooses to smoke weed, which is legal, and use UBI or welfare or whatever to purchase weed, okay, who fucking cares? Even if they're doing worse drugs than weed, what if they're heroin addicts and they're clearly, with the grand a month you're getting from welfare, all obviously going straight into their needle. Who cares? It's not my life. I can't build a social justice system or a social welfare system that will guarantee that no one makes bad choices. I can simply create a social welfare system that will ensure that people have the opportunity to make good choices. Sorry, where am I now? I'm rambling here. I think we do the math of top versus bottom and circulate the money a little more differently while still compensating the 27,000 who provide so much value and are paid by the market accordingly. Absolutely. Third of the money currently given to redundant outreach programs would pay for UBI, and those programs wouldn't need to service even half the amount of people they do right now. Totally agree. And what's funny about you use the phrase redundant outreach programs. They're only redundant because we don't have anything better, so we're struggling to look after people with a bunch of poorly designed random things that if we gave a UBI at 1/3 the cost of all of those groups, we could actually make real change and have real valuable services available. For those whose personal income after tax deductions is 10 times the lowest, 90%, it's going to be okay. Relax, for fuck's sake. Totally. I have no sympathy for the wealthy. I couldn't give a fuck about the wealthy. I have an uncle who does really well. I don't know if he qualifies as wealthy or rich or if he's just got some bucks. Whatever the case is, congratulations, you're wealthy. You are fine. And if you want to come bitch at me about the fact that maybe I wind up on my ass and all of a sudden the UBI needs to protect me, then you're a bad person. Right? If you have no problems in life financially and someone else has a problem and you're like, well, I don't want to help you. Well, then you're a dick. Pure and simple. High in a Purdy store, shrinkage of interest. Yeah, that's the one threat to Purdy's would be people, this is a really good chocolate, man. Salted caramel. 420 munchies and a job. Cops and government officials should piss test too then. Fuck yes. And cops should be piss testing for testosterone. Because those fuckers are so jacked on testosterone, and that does nothing but end badly. So fuck the police. And if you're watching and you suddenly got a uncomfortable feeling, sorry about your luck, but I don't like cops. Velour says it's like that meme that says why is an OD kit free and my EpiPen is X dollars. That is the worst meme. Or my diabetes medication is X number of dollars, whatever. The worst meme, because you know what? Why is an EpiPen or a OD kit free? To stop people from dying. Why is your EpiPen not free? Because you haven't, not you personally, but our society hasn't fought for that. This is, again, going back to the conversation about Korea. Change doesn't come out of nice, change comes out of force. A UBI isn't like, and CERB wasn't created because they were like, you know what, let's be careful and kind to all Canadians because that's what Canadians want is kindness. That's how it's sold to us, but the reality is they were like, fuck, how are we going to have an economy if no one at the bottom is making money and spurring? Throw some money at the poors. That's what we'll do. We'll throw money at the poors, it'll go away. A UBI that's a valid, like a $2,000 a month UBI, will not come unless the government sees a value in doing that. And if they don't see that value, the only way to accomplish it is through threat. And I'm not talking about terrorism. I'm not necessarily even talking about violence. I'm talking about, well, in that case, yeah, I think terrorism and violence is probably the only way you would go about it. But like in the Kim Jong Un or whatever. But they won't give us. Tommy Douglas is the reason we have universal health care in Canada. He was the Saskatchewan. I don't think, was he premier or was he the leader of the opposition? But he forced, or maybe I'm completely on the glue, and maybe he was federal. I don't even remember now. But he forced the issue. He forced them to take note and caused enough people to say, I actually think this universal welfare or universal healthcare thing might be important and I want it, so that the government had to give it to us. America's more effective at putting that off. So the idea that they didn't have a strong healthcare system, and then Obamacare came in, which was a step in the right direction, but not a complete, like, oh, now we have universal healthcare and everything's good. And then the next guy, what was his whole repeal and replace? Didn't, thankfully, have the ability to do that because he sucked. But the fact that they're still struggling to get universal healthcare in the US, which is by and large universally accepted in the States as a good idea on both sides of the debate, the fact that they go with such garbage takes on how, this would cost too much money and it would be really difficult to implement, and like all the things that they try to do to justify around it. Like the cost is such a fucking fake thing. Part of the reason that your costs are so high, I noticed that I'm sketching down there. Part of the reasons your costs are so high in the States is because of the fact that it is a privatized system where insurance companies are just getting fucking fat and drug companies are getting fucking fat and doctors are making sweet fucking paychecks. When you have a universal healthcare, you actually get in front of that. You don't necessarily, it's not like all of a sudden those groups are all poor. But there's limits on what they can charge for insulin or whatever, right? The price for insulin, if I'm not mistaken, in Canada is a buttload cheaper than the US. I don't know if that's facts. Let's find out. I got a Google box. Let's find out together. Google. Why don't I do this on the other Google box where you can see? I have to do a couple of things real quick. All right, now I'm going to go here, and I'm going to tell it my browser that I have open is... What the fuck is it? I made a new tab. There we go. There we go. All right, now let's Google together. Insulin cost Canada versus US. Right there. All right. In 2018, the average insulin price in the US was $98.70 compared to $6.94 in Australia, $12 in Canada, and $7.52 in the UK. That right there is exactly why that system doesn't work. $12 in Canada versus $98.70 in the US. So yeah, you want to ask the question, why is my EpiPen free, and why is the my diabetes medicine $98.70? Because no one's fighting for you to have free access to insulin. That's your fucking plain truth right there. That's insane. Those prices, absolutely. Can you imagine like a $12 shot at there should be a drug smuggling ring for insulin. How is there not? How is that not a thing? An even more interesting cost comparison is pills for people versus pig farmers for their stock in the U.S. I'm almost scared to look at that, but yeah, I 100% don't doubt it. Pigs are a product that's an important part of the economy, whereas people are just garbage that we can shovel into the fire for the economy, whatever. The same reason pigs are a tenth the cost for the same damn pill. Yeah, that's Simpsons did an episode similar to that, drug smuggling. See, I haven't watched The Simpsons in a very long time, and it's because it's The Simpsons. It's not fucking going anywhere. I don't care. Everyone gets upset every now and then when The Simpsons does things like when the most recent one was when they had the people of color voicing people of color characters. Clearly, an attack against the whites, but probably not. But yeah, I literally I don't watch The Simpsons. Every time I think, maybe I'll watch a Simpsons episode, I look and it's like season 380, and I'm like, screw this. This is too much work. I don't watch South Park. I don't watch Family Guy. I don't watch any of that. Lately, I've just been watching Queer Eye and just being all excited about that show. I don't know why. My kiddo turned me onto it, and I love it. Love it. Again though, getting back to UBI, I think the short and skinny of it is that it is an example of what is an effective means of ensuring the stability of the population, and ensuring the stability of the economy. And the only reason that we don't have it is because we are lethargic when it comes to change. And there are so many voices out there that are loudly shouting about, oh, if we give them free money, they won't work because they're lazy, shitty, goddamn pieces of crap. And that's a shitty take. That's a garbage take. The fact is, most people don't want to be out of work. Most people don't want to be receiving social funding. And most people, if the pressure is taken off, won't. I'm gonna jet. I'm gonna go see the kid. Much love and respect. Oh man, I am so happy to hear you're going to see the kid. I love you, and I hope you're doing well. And when all of this craziness is over, we are definitely drinking beers. I might play some velour after. That's an inside joke. This is my buddy Ben, and Ben was in a band called Valor. I don't know if you'd call them black metal band or what. Solo poly. But Valor was a phenomenal, like super dark, super heavy local band in Calgary, and there's some of my favorite people were in Valor, and I always called them Velour because it was fun. Signing off as well, Jim. As always, a real pleasure. Cheers, man. Cheers, bright, sparkly undergarments. A pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for all that you bring to the conversation. 2 in a row. Does that mean that it's probably time? Or am I still... There is, and I send my unused free puffers to someone who redistributes them in the States and Mexico. That's fucking awesome. Like, normally I would be like, oh, drug smuggling bad. But, like, in a case like this, drug smuggling good. If I could just, like, get a prescription for insulin that I didn't need and, like, send it off, fuck yes. Fuck yes, I would. Itchy. Oh, good. Yeah, I totally forgot what I was talking about. UBI, good. UBI, the only reason we don't have it is because people don't understand, And the people at the top don't want you to understand. No one stays poor and stupid and drunk and losery when their needs are met. They actually, most of the times, improve themselves and improve the people around them and improve their society. The number one source of stress for people, if I'm not mistaken, is financial stress. How am I going to make it to the end of the month? And that is a feeder for domestic violence, crime, you name it, substance abuse, all that stuff. If you take away that fear, all of a sudden, people are doing better. Substance abuse. This makes me think of a thing that I think I've talked about in the past. Couch is slipping. I think I've talked about this in the past. I want to talk about it again. Rat Park. Have I talked about Rat Park recently? I'm going to do it anyway, but I'm just curious. Our model of addiction is based around the model of you take a rat and you put it in a cage, and you have one dropper that's got water in it, and you have one dropper that's got water and cocaine. And almost exclusively, the rat, once they figure out one of them makes them all walkily googly, they hook up every time and they will just drink cocaine water and then eventually overdose and die. This is the basis for how we understand drug addiction. Turns out it's a very flawed view. Now, when I say all this, let me preface this with the fact that Rat Park is not necessarily accurate science either. It was a test that was done, and it found the results that I'm going to talk about, but that doesn't mean that it's valid. It has not, if I understand correctly, been fully replicated. There's been problems with replicating it, so it may not be the answer, but I like this as an answer better, and so I'm going to present it. I get that that's not very scientific of me. One of the people who was doing their schooling saw this whole Rat Park thing and was like, the rat model, and was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, of course that rat is going to get high as fuck. It's stuck in a cage with a wheel and nothing to do. This is a bad model comparing human addictive response to a bored as fuck rat that has access to drugs. So what he did was he built Rat Park, which was a much bigger enclosure with multiple rats and loads of things for rats to do. Like, I don't know what rats do. I'm pretty sure, they fuck, they shit on things. That's my knowledge of rats. But rats like to do other things. They're not just fucking shit things. They do stuff. So he designed an enclosure that would have social outlets, that would have entertainment outlets that were appropriate for rats. And then he had the same thing where there was water dispensers that had cocaine and water dispensers that didn't. And what they found in their experiment was that some rats liked cocaine, some rats didn't. Most of the rats that liked cocaine would every now and then be like, I'm gonna take the cocaine water. And enjoy the fuck out of that and then stop. Because, they were high and they were good and they'd go and do other fun stuff, high as balls now. It wasn't that they were unable to control their addictive lives. It's that the addiction didn't have to be the only thing. And where this concept comes from was that we knew our whole concept of addiction was wrong when at the end of the Vietnam War. So during the Vietnam War, I don't know the numbers offhand. I could probably Google, but I don't think that's the point. A large number of American servicemen had done opiates while being in the Vietnam theater of battle, whatever you want to call it. And a sizable number were addicted to heroin or opium or what have you. Like a very large number. And people in America were more than a little freaked out about this because they were like, shit, what happens when these people come back? We're going to bring back all these troops who are going to be addicted to heroin and addicted to opium. How do we deal with this? How does our society deal with this? And they brought them back. Most of them didn't do heroin again. Like a large number of people who came back from Vietnam having been heroin users, regular heroin users, didn't do heroin. And the reason was because they came back to something a little better than a fucking war zone. In that situation, they were self medicating to get through the gruesomeness of their day to day lives. And that is valid and makes sense. And then they came back and their life was different and they didn't need to self medicate because they were back and they were happy and they were around their family and they were around their people that they loved. And there's old Mary Sue, or as Full Metal Jacket says, Mary Jane Rottencrotch, right? Whatever. They're there, they're home, they're back in the world in that vernacular. And they just stopped. Now that doesn't fit those early models of addiction studies because you don't stop, you just die, right? You keep using the druggos until you die. It's laughable that we still associate all of the things we understand about drugs based off of poor ass rats. And when you did the rat park experiment, again, like it wasn't, I don't think it replicated well, and I think there's challenges with the methodology, but questioning that concept is, I think, vital. And I think what the Vietnam veterans that came back that didn't do drugs proved was that our understanding of drugs and drug addiction is pretty much crap. We're not good at this. And we need to do better in order to understand it. So, when we talk about people who are on welfare are going to be on drugs, UBI is just going to make a whole bunch of people do the drugs. No, it's not. No, it's not. What makes people do the drugs is misery and pain because they are self-medicating. Yes, some people do become addicted to drugs and cannot control that addiction. But in my opinion, and it is only opinion, in my opinion, those people are still self-medicating and may have gotten to a point where there are bigger issues at play, where their normal dopamine levels don't allow for them to, what am I trying to say? Their normal dopamine levels are so diminished from their regular drug use that it literally is a misery not to be on drugs. And it's a stopgap. Eventually your brain and body kicks back into the usual gear and all that kind of shit, but that adjustment is hard. I don't know. I just think that making the assumption that A, drugs are evil, and B, all people who are on welfare are going to do drugs is pretty terrible. And I think that it's also funny that it comes from largely rich people who tend to be lazy, sitting around getting giant amounts of money on yachts. And you can argue, oh, rich people, they work really hard. How many vacations do they get? How many days a week or a year do they fuck off to a yacht or a super yacht or whatever the fuck? How hard really is their lives? Because I don't think it is. So we'll just go with me on this one. So they're lazy, and they're on all kinds of drugs. They're on Valiums. They're on Xanax. They're on everything under the sun to self-medicate. So everyone's doing it. We're just pointing the finger of blame at the poors who are doing it because we don't like them. It's kind of what it is. So yeah, back to the comment that I was making earlier. 100%, if there is a black market for smuggling insulin or other drugs into the U.S., fucking do it. I'm sure I'm going to get demonetized for that, but it's okay because I haven't been monetized yet. So, that was a long ramble. I hope people, my numbers have gone down, but that was people that were leaving. So I hope everyone's like sitting back going, wow, Jim, interesting food for thought. I should think more about whether I want to be Captain America or Iron Man. I'm so stoked for the next bit of Marvel stuff. The Loki series is, I'm sure, going to be amazing. WandaVision was so good. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was so good. Having Loki as a series, I'm like wet in the nethers over the excitement for this. I really liked those stories. I liked the New Mutants movie that they did, and also Shang-Chi, which is going to be awesome because Jung from fucking Kim's Convenience, a Canadian Asian-born Canadian, or no, Canadian-born Asian, sorry, is playing Shang-Chi. That's fucking awesome. First time we have a Canadian Asian in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Fucking A. And Shang-Chi's cool. The government has a vested interest in keeping a certain amount of citizens addicted. It does. But the government also, the sort of the point I was making was everyone's got their addictions. The rich folk have their addictions. They just don't need treatment for them. Because doctors will keep giving them their Xannies and their Valiums and their whatever the fuck. Rich people do crack. Rich people do coke. Rich people do heroin. Rich people blah, 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 blah. It's not a concern to society. The only concern to society is that the poors and the not whites might be doing drugs. And isn't that just the worst thing in the whole history of ever? But yeah, no, I absolutely agree that the government has a vested interest in keeping a certain amount of citizens addicted. Fear of crime is an effective means of maintaining the status quo. The more that you can point to and go, look, see our crime stats, yeah, they're going down, but, there's still a lot of really dangerous, scary people out there. If there wasn't people who were struggling and who were acting in criminal ways as a result of whether it's because the drugs are affecting their brains in that moment or because they're robbing people to be able to cover their rent or whatever the fuck. If those people didn't exist, if you suddenly had a universal basic income that would make it so that these were not reasonably necessary options, I'm not saying that would end crime, but it would dramatically cut down on crime. And when it dramatically cuts down on crime, all of a sudden the world's not as scary, and maybe we can start asking questions about the world again. And maybe we can start going, hey, government, we want you to do better, and the government has to sort of pay attention. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling, but I do believe there's a strong correlation that I think the government has, as you say, a vested interest in maintaining a certain amount of addiction, and addiction among poor and people of color and stuff. It maintains the concept that there are poor people and people of color who are criminal and who are dangerous and who the good white rich folk need to be protected from. And the poor and working class white folk need to, be aware of so they can stay away from, and eventually they'll be rich too. That's such a crock. One of the other notes I wrote to myself in preparation for this was the greatest trick the devil ever did was convincing conservatives or convincing people to vote against their interests. And that's so interesting to me when people do that. When working class people vote conservative, they're voting against their interests because they're voting to protect the wealthiest people. And it's all under the premise that one day I might be one of those wealthy people and I want to be protected. But why not protect your fucking self now? Why not take the crazy perspective of maybe everyone should be protected, not just the rich? Because, that once again, that argument, who's going to pay for it? That is such a garbage argument. The answer is we spend the giant sum of money that is collected in tax revenue, but we also invent money magically with computers, but we spend that money on whatever the fuck we feel like spending that money on. What am I trying to say? If you look at the federal budget, it's a massive thing. Finding money in the federal budget isn't that hard because there is all kinds of decisions to be made. assuming that we can't just grow the money as necessary to do the things we want to do or whatever, okay, assuming that, we have a huge amount of different programs that we can say, well, let's spend a little bit less on this and we can spend a little bit more over here. That's when conservatives talk about tightening our belts and living within a budget. Like that's exactly the thing. I don't believe that's necessary. I personally think that money is a bullshit social construct that doesn't actually mean anything, and that we have the capacity to do as we will with it. If there's a project or a product or a thing that we as a society want, we can have it, and that's just that. If it takes money, well, money is made up, and okay, fine, I made up some money. There's some money that covers it. The balance is always about devaluing the currency and stuff, but even that's garbage. Remember how the yuan completely crashed and now it's not? I'm no economist, and clearly when I say stupid shit like this, it's because I'm not an economist. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I feel like there's a pretty strong correlation between the words that come out of people's mouths to justify not spending money to help people and them being garbage pieces of shit. So, this is me. When we vote against our interests and then we wonder why the world didn't get better, it's a pretty easy answer. When we talk about North Koreans and like we were talking about earlier, and the North Koreans are struggling with the Kim family as their leaders, and the answer is that they're your leaders because you let them be, and there's only one solution. You don't want to live under somebody's boot hill. Fight back. Anyways, I think I'm running out of steam brain-wise, so I'm going to play a couple songs and then call it a job well done. That's what I'll call it. What am I going to play? We're going to start with some Inner Surge. This was a band from when I first started playing music. I'm going to play the song Wolves. It's a little bit slower of their songs. And I loved these guys. Two out of three of them are the band Truck, who I still fantastically love. And are still a band today as far as I understand things. And I think we'll finish it off with some Primitive Screwheads. I'm going to go with Imagine Me Naked. No, I'm going to play Ka-Chunk, because I want to play Ka-Chunk. Where is Ka-Chunk? Do I have Ka-Chunk? I should. I do. Right there. All right. So this is essentially me signing off with Inner Surge, followed by Primitive Screwheads. Oops. There we go.
Ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk. Just walk away. Give me the gas, I'll spare your lives. Just walk away. I'll give you safe passage through the wasteland. Just walk away. Ka-chunk, there'll be an end to all this horror. Just walk away. Ka-chunk, ka-chunk. I give you one full day to decide. Just walk away. Give me the
right, that is a wrap. Thank you guys for joining me. Like, subscribe, all the stuff. And next week, Barrack